that leaves me still receiving you as authority, and everything takes on that serious, that's how it is energy. Key points start to blur. You've got me on edge, and my brain checks out. Welcome to the Foster Your Voice podcast with me, Kristi Foster. After a 30-year career in music and theater, I never imagined I'd be coaching trial attorneys. But once I entered your world, I quickly realized how critical and underutilized voice is in the courtroom. The truth is, you don't win trials with brute strength. You win with your voice. I'll give you tools to unlock your voice so you can communicate not just with purpose, but on purpose. If you want quick action tips to help you stay calm and in control, keep jurors engaged, and inspire your listeners to action, all through the power of your voice, you're in the right place. I'm Kristi Foster, and I'm here to help you foster your voice. Hello, Foster fam. Welcome. We're a couple of weeks into the new year now. So how are you settling in? Are you like me where you need a routine? It's kind of a hard thing because I love having the time off and the holiday activities. But at a certain point, I'm like, get me to bed at a reasonable time. Let me wake up for my regular morning walk. Enough with all the snacks and the holiday treats. Just give me some solid meal planning. I just do better when I have a routine. I also do better when I can stay mentally organized. So let's talk about something that has been quietly running my life for years. And I want to talk about them not just because they make me happy, but because there's real brain science behind why they reduce overwhelm and increase follow-through. Let's talk about lists. This is where the heavens open and light shines down and the angels sing, ah. I love me a list. I love writing things down, and I really love checking things off. Do you do the thing where you put things on your list that you know you've already done so you can just check it off? There is something deeply satisfying about that little check mark. It just gives me a sense of progress, a sense of control and order, especially when life or work just feels overwhelming. And at the start of a new year, that's when I feel like I'm keeping track of a lot of things. So I am the list queen of America. And as funny as that sounds, this habit has been one of the most effective tools I've used for managing stress, focus, and forward motion. What I didn't realize for a long time is that my love of lists wasn't just my personality or my affinity towards organization. It was biology. Turns out there's actual neuroscience behind why being a list maker works. It's called the Zeigarnik Effect. The Zeigarnik Effect is a principle from psychology that says our brains remember unfinished tasks better than completed ones. Incomplete work weighs heavier in our working memory than completed work. It's like a lot of open tabs that the brain has to manage. Completed work, we get to check off, close out, and move on. The brain releases it. But incomplete work creates a pressure or a tension, a compulsion to keep at it. Here's where this can start to work against us if we're not careful, though. The mental burden of having all that incomplete work can stir up that nasty old imposter syndrome and turn up the volume on those broken soundtracks that keep you discouraged and keep you judging yourself for not measuring up to your expectation for goals you set or the performance level your job requires. So here's where the magic of lists come in. Research shows that putting incomplete items on a list helps close the loop. When everything is floating around in your head, your brain is constantly trying to track it all. But when you put it on paper or a notes app or a project management software, you're essentially telling your brain, I've got this. You don't have to hold on to it anymore. But how you make your list matters. This is where most people miss the benefit of lists and where overwhelm can creep back in. To reduce that mental noise and build some momentum to actually complete tasks, your list needs to be made up of super small mini tasks. Don't just write, do X project. That's going to just lead to overwhelm. You need an action plan. So break your X project into specific small items, and that's your list. So if my goal was to run a 5K, simply putting run a 5K on my goals list would only cause me stress, keep me drowned in self-doubt and stuck. So the action list would break down that goal into small items that would help me build towards my completed goal. In addition to breaking things up into a training plan, I would also include micro tasks like buy running shoes, download the Couch to 5K app, create a playlist, calendar workouts, get my accountability partner on Marco Polo so we can have easy check-ins. Now, I can get stuck in the planning stage, so it's important to get things into the doing stage, but the doing is too overwhelming without the planning in place. The Zeigarnik Effect says that taking the first step on a project, no matter how small, can create enough tension to motivate the continuation of the task. Planning isn't the enemy, thank goodness. Stalling is, and action doesn't have to be big to be effective. So, you have briefs half started, motions you're mulling about and just thinking on, emails you've read but not answered, prep tasks that you haven't really clearly defined. Your brain is holding all of that open. And for you, as a trial attorney who already carries enormous cognitive and emotional load, that is a sure recipe for exhaustion. And it's only January. Get that stuff on a list. Break it down into super small action steps. Your brain doesn't need to finish everything. It just needs you to start something clearly. Even a small action closes the mental loop enough to reduce stress. And this is why action matters more than motivation. Action breeds clarity. That's one of my 2026 soundtracks. Action breeds clarity. Remember, your brain hates ambiguity. It's all undefined tasks that are keeping you swirling and stressed and overwhelmed. Prepare for trial is overwhelming. Draft voir dire questions is still pretty heavy, but write 5 voir dire questions about credibility. That's actionable. The more specific the task, the less mental energy it requires. This part of the year is when I think collectively we obsess over time management techniques and strategies. And it's good to get some systems in place. But instead of managing time, try to think of it as managing open loops. At the end of the day, ask, what am I leaving unfinished? Is it clearly captured somewhere? And what is the next visible action? You don't need to do it right then. You just need to name it. That alone will help your nervous system settle. So let's get to list building. Micro action steps for the win. Because lists don't just organize your work, they organize your nervous system. Hey, real quick, if your jurors look confused when you say liability, standard of care, or damages, they're not tuning out because they don't care. They're tuning out because they don't speak law. I've put together a free guide called Top 20 Legal Terms to Avoid and What to Say Instead. It'll help you simplify your language without losing credibility, so your message actually lands. Download it now at fostervoicestudio.com/top20 or click the link in the show notes. All right, back to the episode. Today, I just want to give you a quick action communication tip. This is something simple you can start incorporating even today. It's the idea of using your body as punctuation. In other words, helping jurors feel when something begins, something shifts, or it ends without you having to say, moving on, or next, I want to talk about. You don't have to announce when you effectively use physical punctuation. This recently came up as a client was running through their opening with me, and I realized that I kind of felt like they were leaving me hanging. I didn't have a clear sense of the sections or the key points even, so I couldn't mentally organize and track with them. I wondered why I was feeling so unfinished, and it occurred to me that I was missing some sort of physical cue. You've heard me say this before, that when everything sounds the same, when tone lacks variation, when the pace is steady, when there's no shape to the melody, when you're locked into the same pitch level with the same volume level, nothing has meaning. Sameness neutralizes your message. The same thing happens when everything looks the same. Jurors' brains are wired to prefer sameness because it conserves energy. But that preference works against learning and decision making. They want it because that's when their brain doesn't have to expend energy. Brains are motivated to seek pleasure, avoid pain, and expend the least amount of energy as possible. That's how it fulfills its sole mission of keeping you alive. So when you flatten out your message in sound and in look, your jurors subconsciously check out, and their brains love it. But that's a terrible condition for decision making. You want their brains active. You want them learning, getting inspired, relating to what you're sharing, and internalizing your key points. So you're fighting against their natural neuroscience. You have to physically punctuate in order for them to make sense of what you're saying and pick up on your cues to transition. If jurors don't sense transition, their brains don't know what to prioritize or what to let go of. So, for instance, and side note, I'm demonstrating some of these things. I'll try to say what I'm doing if you're only able to be listening right now, but I recommend hitting up the video of this episode on YouTube so that you can see what I'm up to. So, when you are stepping into your authority to introduce your opening rule, it's important to establish yourself physically. Hands out, palms down, kind of in a tabletop, this is how it is position. But after your rule, a lot of times it's easy to just keep going and keep your hands out there and head right into your teaching section, and you might miss the physical punctuation. As a juror, that leaves me still receiving you as authority, and everything takes on that serious, that's how it is energy. Key points start to blur. You've got me on edge, and my brain checks out. So instead, establish your authority, deliver your rule, then pause. Bring your hands back to a resting position. Listeners, I have my hands gently clasped, just a little higher than my waistline. By stopping that assertive authority gesture, I'm physically signaling a transition. Something different is coming up. We're changing the energy. Those are the signals my brain needs and your jurors need to keep me engaged while getting some emotional reprieve. I don't zone out, but I'm also not braced and hunkering down for all the heavy stuff and intense learning. Start trying this physical punctuation tactic. Use your body to finish a story. Settle your weight back when you've completed a section. Release the gesture you've been holding for a while. Create a nonverbal ending to create some closure and reinforce the impact of your message. Tune in next week when we talk about how to empower your jury to deliberate successfully. Until then, keep fostering your voice. Thanks for pulling up a seat with me today and for being part of the Foster fam. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so you don't miss a single episode. And while you're at it, go ahead and leave a review or a comment so I can give you a shout out on a future episode. During the week, you can find me on Instagram at Foster Voice Studio, where I'm dropping little nuggets of vocal technique and leadership wisdom. You can also join my mailing list by visiting fostervoicestudio.com or by clicking the link in the show notes. I'll send a weekly vocal tip every Tuesday directly to your inbox. Until then, keep fostering your voice.